directly contributing to that message, use appropriate transitions when moving from one idea to the next, and create a strong opening, body, and conclusion. Our first speaker, his title of his speech is The Cost of Being Unbaked. He will be speaking between 5 to 7 minutes. The Cost of Being Unbaked. Please help me welcome Mr. Riyan Jackson.
Toastmasters, guests, I'd like to talk to you tonight about an epidemic in our community. I'd like to talk to you about the problem of being without a bank account and the costs that are associated with it. Now, there are plenty of problems in our community, such as heart disease, diabetes, any number of physical ailments, but I want to talk to you about a fiscal ailment that's in our community, and that's being unbanked. Now, for many of us, this might be something that we take for granted. Many of us have had bank accounts since we can no longer remember. When we were young, many of our parents might have set us up on accounts. Many of our grandparents might have given us something to work with. There are many of different ways that people have gotten accounts when they're young. But I want to talk to you about the people who don't have these possibilities or these same abilities to get an account. Unfortunately, you might ask, why would anybody not have an account? And if so, there are a number of people who don't have accounts. It can't be very many. Well, unfortunately, this is not just a local problem. There's an estimated 25% of U.S. households without bank accounts. This equates to nearly 30 million households in the U.S. Now, notice I said households. This equates to 60 million individuals. 60 million individuals who are either unbanked or underbanked, meaning that they never had an account and unbanked, or that they are underbanked and have had an account at some point in their life, but no longer have an account. Now, the picture here locally in Florida is not much better. There are an estimated 530,000 households that don't have accounts, and over 1 million Floridians who are completely underbanked. In Jacksonville, there's nearly 200,000 of our neighbors who are underbanked. I know that these numbers don't necessarily appear or appeal to everyone. So let's talk about some of the reasons why somebody might be unbanked or underbanked. There are a host of reasons that may vary, from generational distrust of financial institutions, cultural distrust of financial institutions, a lack of understanding of some of the financial knowledge when it comes to basic understanding of bank accounts or fees, identification requirements, lack of understanding of basic some of the minimum balance requirements. Now, for some of these reasons that I've identified, there may be a deeper story to it, perhaps. If you can imagine, somebody from another country who's never had an account in the U.S., or somebody who has come from a country where a dictator, or there have been some cultural issues with trusting an account. These are some of the more common reasons. There may be some issues with just language barriers. For instance, some people who don't have English as their first language, it would be very difficult for them to walk into a financial institution, find somebody who speaks their language, and work from there to open up an account if they don't have anybody to translate for them. Finally, think of the person who has never had a family member or anybody who they actually know who has opened up a bank account. What is the likelihood that they would take it upon themselves to walk into a banking institution to say, let me open up an account, or really understand the reasons why they would want to open up an account? Now, we know that although these people don't necessarily have bank accounts, they do have to use their own money at some point. And to do this, there are a number of different, I call them banking substitutes, that try and fill in the blanks for what our normal banking services provide. For instance, if you can think of the check cashing places, or the payday lenders, or the any number of multiple banking services that cater to these people who can't get accounts. It's actually a billion-dollar industry, and it's only getting worse. Now let's think about some of the costs for each of these institutions or these banking substitutes. For instance, to cash a check in Florida, there's actually a chance of getting a 5% charge of the total amount of your check, or you might be charged a flat fee. I had a student in a class several weeks back who had gotten her tax return in the mail. She wanted to cash her check, as many of us do. She did not have a bank account, and when she went to get her check cashed, it cost her $200. Okay. Now, mind you, that was a $4,000 check, but $200 is ridiculous. Imagine for each time you try and go and cash your paycheck. How often do we cash our paycheck? Some people do it weekly, some people do it every 2 weeks, some people do it every month. But imagine paying $50 or $60 every time you do it. So if you see, this is just talking about cashing a check. Now when I talk about some of the different fees involved in one of the more popular trends, which has to do with stored value cards, the fees are actually endless. For instance, stored value cards are similar to debit cards, but it's no actual bank account linked up to it. So somebody may be charged a fee to purchase the account. Purchase the stored value card. That might be anywhere from $5 to $30. Somebody may take another $5 to open or activate the account. Another $5 to put money on your account. Another $2 for a transaction every time you swipe your card. Another $3 for every time you go to the ATM. You can imagine these fees are endless. And it can even cost somebody to call customer service $1 per minute. So if you can imagine, this is a billion-dollar industry that is hurting the people who cannot really afford to lose their money. Many of the people who are using these financial services are unfortunately below the poverty line. Now, I wouldn't offer you a problem without offering you a solution. I want to talk to you very quickly about a program here in Jacksonville called Bank Jacksonville. It actually is a collaborative of organizations, community organizations, banking institutions, credit unions, and banks. And their whole purpose is to basically educate and get people back into the financial world. I'll just leave you with the actual website so that you can find out a little more about the program, Bank Jacksonville, which is www.bankonjacksonville.org. And I put up this little piggy bank today to give you a small visual. One, I want you to go home, grab your piggy banks, take a hammer, and go open up a game. Thank you very much.
I was hoping Ryan would leave the piggy bank over here.